I know a lot of people who are fit, yet mentally and spiritually and emotionally, they're a wreck, right? It's because those people that are physically fit, that was probably the only thing they've known in their life was to, you have to work out consistently to make sure that, you look good, right? And sometimes the fallacy of looking good can seem like, oh, if they look good, that means the rest of their life is good. When in reality, it might not be. What's up, everybody? This is Ahmed.
And Luffy.
And this is the Brotherly Love Podcast. How are you guys doing? How are you all doing?
Hey, beautiful people.
You always say how beautiful people all the time in your videos.
Yeah, they are beautiful people.
You don't even know what they look like. That's
beautiful
weird.
On the inside.
It's what matters in the inside. It's
I know.
the beauty of the beholder, okay?
You know I'm cheesy like that.
You're very cheesy. You're very, very cheesy.
I don't have an issue with being corny, man.
Why?
Because I went to Cornell.
You did not just say that. You did not just say that right now. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow. My
This
brother is
your
a
brother.
cornball.
This is your brother.
You're a cornball.
How are you doing today?
Sensational. Nah, I was dealing with a few things this week, but alhamdulillah, I'm bouncing back. I feel good mentally. I had to go work out because I was like, that's my best way of clearing my mind. Just like go intense until you go into exhaustion and you're like, all right, I'm good.
No, I feel that
everything
for sure.
out. Yeah.
Like for me, working out, training is like number one outlet.
Yeah, it's the best way. Anytime you feel any kind of frustration or just like mental clog, just go outside and work out, and then you come back like, yeah, I feel good. Take a little shower, eat, rest up, you be straight. Yeah.
Word. No, I'm glad to hear that.
How do you feel?
I'm good too, man. I was actually earlier this week in a little bit of a funk too. For
Really?
for like a day or two.
Mm-hmm.
Just had some negative thoughts that came into my mind. I felt overwhelmed a bit by the amount of work that I had in front of me. But I mean, I just sat down and just wrote down literally everything that I needed to do, and I found it not to be as much as I thought it was.
Yeah, a lot of times that's what it is. We overcomplicate our tasks because it's like, oh, I have to do this. But if you break it down in terms of days or break it down in terms of like what you do in each hour, you're like, oh, that's not that bad. It's not that hard.
Yeah, I used to do this thing back in college called and I should do it now, to be honest. It was a weekly, I called it brain drain. So every Sunday I'd go through my laptop, I'd go through my phone, and every tab that because I'm a tab guy. So
Same.
So every tab that I have, I'd clear it out. So my goal would be that on Sunday, I'm going to restart my computer, I'm going to restart my phone. So it comes back as a clean slate, and whatever's on my mind, everything that needs to be done, I drop all of it onto this sheet of paper. And then that acts as like almost like my weekly goal list until the following week. And it was nice because at the very least, mentally, it's all gone. And now that it's on paper, I can start to tackle it like one by one.
So let's say, for instance, you didn't attack every single goal on that weekly list. How would you feel afterwards?
Oh, horrible. Absolutely horrible.
Really? I'm the same way.
No, not at all.
Damn,
really?
I'm by
You
myself.
are?
Yeah.
Every single thing on that. I mean, this is a weekly goal. I'm not talking about my daily goals.
Oh, no, yeah. I'm saying weekly as well. Like, I don't necessarily write weekly goals. I write down daily goals. And sometimes it's hard for me to accept not doing everything on that list according to what it says. So it would be like 6 a.m. bike ride, meditate, read the Quran, send out these emails. Da, da, da. If I don't do one of those things, I'm like, damn, I didn't do it. And then like it kind of feels bad, but you have to have a constant reminder to be like, hey, bro, you did everything else. You did like 85, 90%. You shouldn't be so harsh on yourself.
On the daily goals, I'm with you. You know what I'm saying? Like I actually hold myself like very kind of strictly to those like, oh man, like I didn't do this stuff today and I said I was gonna like, but on like on longer term basis, I give myself a lot more flexibility. I feel like, just especially because a lot of my like they're still esoteric. The more like longer term goals in
Mhm.
some form, especially if I do something like a brain drain. Because when I'm doing a brain, especially I'm trying to close out tabs. So sometimes I'm hopping into a rabbit hole. I'm just like, oh, this piqued my interest. Let me open up a tab so I can dive deep into it later at like 4 o'clock in the morning, right? And it's like on this like random subject on like 17th century philosophers or something, right?
You're a weirdo.
Yes, like
Go ahead.
I started this off. This is your brother, but
Yeah, go ahead.
like I'll dive into like this deep rabbit hole, but the so like sometimes those that list is like it's more esoteric stuff on there, so like I won't hold myself too accountable, or like I won't be too hard on myself for those weekly stuff, because a lot of times it's just like something generic. But when I get into like the daily goals, and like I write pretty specific daily goals, like
Mhm.
I I beat myself up. I'm not gonna lie,
Yeah.
and this is like this is the double edged sword, right? Like low key, you should like
Yeah.
if you're trying to do anything like I feel like of substance in
You have
life,
to kinda kick yourself in the ass a little bit.
yeah, man, like like I just feel like you should be your hardest critic. Like you should be your harshest critic, because if I'm if I hold myself to a certain standard, then nothing that you say can affect me.
Mm.
Like I'm oscillating on a different plane, like completely. Like you're talking about some level one,
Yeah,
things, and I'm over here on like just level four, just like what, like
like, way
you,
beyond what
yeah,
you're
like you're
saying.
like what you're talking about this, like I know this and this and this about myself, like, and it's almost why I think that like knowledge of self is like the most important thing, because if you really know yourself, you can know which parts of yourself to hold accountable, and which parts of yourself like you can kind of just
Chill out.
yeah.
Yeah, because I think when you're your harshest critic, you can see the flaws in you and be like, I have to work on these certain things. So these certain things, I will be a lot more strict. Let's say, for instance, it's like this one goal you keep saying you want to do, but you're not doing.
Mm.
It's like, all right, I'll be more strict on that. But if it's other things that you've already been consistent in, it's like, oh, you can kind of go on and go off. It's okay because you've been at it. I think that's a really big thing because some people, I mean, I feel like everyone has gone through the phase, especially like in middle school or elementary school, when like I actually think public school is necessary for kids. Private school and homeschool is like too sheltered. Like I want my kid to go in
Damn.
there. I want my kid to
Hot
go in
take.
there. No, it's true. Because the way I see it is like in the future, right? I want my kid to go into school and like someone clown him, right? So he's like, oh, dang, like I didn't think the world was like that. And it's like, yeah, that's how it's gonna be, right? But then obviously you're going to be like really insecure and have these fears or whatever it is, but it'll allow you to dive more into the knowledge of self, so that way, like, let's say for instance in middle school someone clowned you, it's like, I know, what else, they're like, and they get taken aback, they're like, head ass, and it's like, okay. So then they can't say anything because you already have accepted it within yourself.
Mm. I think we should take a step back so we can bring everyone a step forward. We just kind of ran off with the topic without really
Yeah,
introducing it.
that's true.
And it's funny because I just asked how your week was, and it kind of naturally led to it. But I think there's a good connection here.
Hmm.
So today's topic, we want to talk to you guys about self improvement.
The glow up,
Yeah, the glow up.
to be more specific, the glow up. How do you glow up?
Mm. And you actually, brought this topic up, and I was
Yeah.
interested in talking about it, but I wanted to know first, kind of like, how do you define glowing up?
All right. Glowing up is not having healthy skin. Glowing up is not consisting of your diet of what you consume, like food. A glow up is when you've mentally reached a different plane level of like thinking, and people around you can be like, "Oh, damn. He's changed in some kind of way." Right? Cuz energy doesn't lie. People can know when you're insecure, people can know when you're like not that confident in yourself, whatever it is. But when they start seeing that like you started implementing something in your life, either meditation or I'm going to work out, or have some kind of consistent basis, and being comfortable with yourself and not feeling like I have to have so many people around me to feel okay, that's when you glow up. That's how I feel it is.
Mm. Okay. Okay. I mean, that's a good take.
Hmm.
I want to just push back on some things. I actually
Okay.
think the physical representation of a glow up is just that. It's a physical representation of an internal change. So I do think that like people who care about themselves, and this is generally speaking, of course, you know, I have to preface this because it might be a slight hot take. Like people in general, like basically what I'm trying to say is like, yo, if you care about yourself, you drink water, you eat healthy, you're gonna have clear skin. And you caring about yourself comes from that internal, thing. Now, of course, like, if you have I have eczema, for instance, right?
You
But
got eczema?
yeah, right. But my eczema is like it's severely changed from when I was a kid too, right?
That's true.
And part of it could be because of my diet, part of it could be because of genetics, right? Like, but in just the same way, like someone could have a skin condition from genetics and stuff. Like, I don't know, I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, yeah.
But I do think that the physical body does ultimately end up reflecting like the mental mind, which is why I do think it's like when we started off the whole podcast, why I do think it's so important to like work out and to train and to eat healthy. Because for me, like glowing up or becoming a better version of yourself or successful or however you want to phrase it is holistic. It's not I made $100,000 or I made $1 million or I have this beautiful woman or I achieved career success or any of those things. It's I made $1 million and I have a beautiful wife and I have an abundant social life and I work out and and it's all the aspects of your life. It's your emotional well-being, your social well-being, like your financial well-being, your physical well-being. So I just think it's more layered
I
than
can.
just you know
Okay, so like I understand where you're coming from. Like everything you're saying makes sense, but I would disagree in terms of you saying that the physical representation
Mhm.
of how you look is from an internal like reflection of yourself that comes outward, whatever it is that you're trying to say. I don't necessarily believe that. I know a lot of people who are like physically fit, and you're like, mashallah. The word mashallah, by the way, means like, you know, God has blessed them.
Bro,
And
these people got Google, man.
hey, man, I'm trying to, give knowledge to the people. You know what I mean? But I know a lot of people who are fit, yet mentally and spiritually and emotionally they're a wreck, right? It's because those people that are physically fit, that was probably the only thing they've known in their life was to get to work out consistently to make sure that you look good, right? And sometimes the fallacy of looking good can seem like, oh, if they look good, that means the rest of their life is good. When in reality, it might not be.
Sure, and just like someone can have everything that I talked about earlier and have eczema or have crooked teeth or whatever it is that makes them physically unappealing or unattractive, right? Like you're right, like people use working out and training as a form of escapism. I do it all the time. It's like, oh, I don't want to deal with this right now. Let me just go on a run. Right? And like, then it's a healthy outlet, right? But you can take that to its extreme also. And you can just be like, I don't feel like going to class today. I'm going to just go to the gym. Yeah. And like I was at that point before too in my life. Like, and that's unhealthy. Even though it's a healthy thing that you're doing it in an unhealthy way, right? Like, so yeah, that is the case, but I don't think that's the general, I don't even know the word. I don't think that's generally what happens, though. I think that generally, like, when you find someone who is, like I never basically aspired to be, like, a fat, old, rich guy.
I hate that.
Because to me, I'd be like, that's just an unappealing lifestyle. Like, when I see someone who's 60 years old, and they're, they got this big belly, and they can't move, and they make millions of dollars, I'm like, you didn't have a little bit of time to like go to the gym and work. Like I just feel like that's a very unattractive to me lifestyle. I wouldn't want something like that. For me, it'd have to be like a little bit more balance. And that's why for me, at least, I think that success looks a little bit more holistic. And it's not to say like, oh, if you don't have a six pack, you ain't successful. But you know, yeah, like it's like right, you hold yourself to whatever standard you want to hold yourself to in each domain of your life. You know, but to think that one isn't connected to the other.
Oh yeah, they're all connected. I was watching Avatar. Shout out to Avatar, bro. That has so many great gems. It's an amazing show. Like it's number one movie,
great show.
Oh yeah, horrible movie. Oh my god, that was a disappointment. But the show itself was made for like people who were like 7-year-olds, 10-year-olds, right? But the gems they drop, I'm like, yo, this is something that adults need, right? But pretty much what was it? Aang, Katara, and Sokka were flying with Appa, like bison, and they were near a swamp, and for some reason they got sucked in the swamp. They start seeing like hallucinations, like they're just trying to figure out what's going on. They meet the person who's like kind of the head of the swamp, whatever it is, and you go to this big tree, and you realize it's not a swamp, it's just a tree connecting with other little branches that kind of stems off. And he was just pretty much saying, he was like, yeah, man, like this tree is just a representation of life. It's like everything that you do will be connected in some kind of way. That even goes back to like Zuko, that episode I'm watching right now. He made a decision to not chase Avatar anymore. He had Appa like on like right there. He was like, I'm letting him go. I can't do it. And then he went through like 3 days of sickness because he literally internally had a conflict, and he had a metamorphosis in a way. Like he was going internal conflict with it.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for bringing that up because that's something else I believe. Like a lot of sickness is mental. Like. And it's bars. Yeah, like a lot of the physical ailments that people have, like physical pain, it's mental pain that's being represented in a physical form.
Yeah.
You know, like when you, for instance, I love to do yoga, stretch, get massages, foam roll, because it releases tension in the body. And what I feel like is happening during like the instances when I'm stretching or, you know, cracking something in my back or whatever, it's like there's that physical tension. Like say I'm doing all that, 20 minutes later I feel mentally, not just physically, but mentally calm, still, at ease, in a way that I wasn't before. And I think, you know, pseudoscience, the body holds physical stress, you know? Like, and people are like, oh, this is Eastern medicine, this, that, and the other, but I think it's true. At least I think it's true.
What part of Eastern medicine do you believe?
I mean, I just said, like, I think the body holds physical stress.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, sorry. I think the body holds emotional stress in physical forms, or mental stresses in a physical form.
I'm gonna need you to explain that.
Yeah, that's. I think that if you
Because
are stressed, I think if you are stressed from school, if you're stressed from work, if you have a million different things going on, I think ailments are going to pop up in your physical self as a representation of the ailments that you let into your mental mind. I think that when you think negative thoughts, you have negative ramifications come on your physical body.
Like this?
What is it? An acne?
Zit, pimple.
Oh, a pimple. Okay. Yeah. For instance,
When you're stressed out.
For instance, right? People are, in that we can talk about. For instance, this is like perfectly aligned with glowing up, right? Like, why is it called a glow? Because most people look dull. But someone who looks enlightened, right? When we say someone has like God, you know, is with this person, or this person seems like they're just glowing. Someone comes back from the vacation and their skin is glowing. Why is that? Well, yeah, like literally they probably did have more sun, you know, and so like there is that aspect of it. But it's from an internal glow. It's from the fact that usually that person went out to go see something new in the world, do something different from their normal life, and they realized that there was more to the world than life. And they found like this inner joy and positivity. They more closely aligned themselves with God, so that when they came back into adult society, they looked like nothing but a bright light.
Yeah, there is.
And we say that they blew up.
That's crazy. There's a few people I know back in college. I remember like anytime I would see them, it's like everyone's head just turns to them because they're just like, yo, who is this person? They don't know necessarily what makes them so attractive, right? That makes you like look at them, but then you start realizing it's like they have some kind of internal peace. What I've always noticed, and it's so weird when I think about it. If I just willy nilly decide to post something on Instagram, like an average amount of any whatever it is, cool, right? But if I have a deep meditation session, right, and I start reviewing my life, what life is, and how I can proceed further, and I decide to post something, boom, like the engagement, whatever, it just skyrockets.
Mm.
Because in some kind of way, I feel like the energy that I decided to put on that post kind of naturally spreads. If it sounds weird when I say that, because it's like, oh, what do you mean? That just goes into the algorithm. You have no say, you know what I'm saying? But I'm a firm believer in it because anytime I don't care about what I post and I have a natural good feeling and I do it, boom, the reception to it or the views, whatever it is, goes crazy because I found something during that meditation that goes with that post. It doesn't necessarily have to be in the caption, but the picture itself or the video itself has the words that needs to be explained.
It's because in the moment that you post, I agree 100%. In the moment that you posted, you're closer to your authentic self.
Yeah.
And people are attracted to authenticity. That's the most, in my opinion, one of the most attractive traits in someone because you can not be physically attracted to someone, but if they're their authentic self, you can't help but like them a little bit.
Yeah.
You can't help but just be like, damn.
Like they're cool. Yeah. Like there's a lot of people.
Like this
where,
person's just themselves.
Yeah.
Like as people say, unapologetically.
There's a lot of people that like, in terms of socially, they might be a little socially awkward, but I like them a lot. Like there's this guy at Mason that I've been friends with since like high school maybe, and he's pretty socially awkward. You know what I'm saying? Like he doesn't necessarily understand social norms, whatever it is, right? But I don't care. Like if I see him like, yo, what's good, bro? And we just have like a good 10-minute conversation just talking. And some people look at me weird because people like on my campus kind of know me. They're like, why is he talking to him? But I'm like, because he's himself. He doesn't care what other people think. Even if he does seem a little awkward, I don't care about that because I'll treat anyone, even if they're willing to be themselves in front of me, I want to be myself in front of you. Yeah, real recognizes real.
Let me pat you on the back real quick. You know, dude with the clout talking to
I don't have any kind of clout, bro.
Bro, that's literally the story you just told. You're like, you know, I'm so popular on campus.
No,
and there's this guy I know who's a lame.
No. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. Instigator. No.
Nah, but yeah, bro. Like, I do think people are like fundamentally they are attracted to authenticity.
Yeah.
Right. And like taking it a step back, like when you do anything that's authentic, like people, whether they like it or not, they'll love you. You know, and because of that, like they'll end up quote unquote liking what you post more often or whatever, because it's just like this, you know, this person's just doing them, and what's not to like about that? They're not stunning or
you can't hate somebody that loves you, bro.
Mm.
You can't. There's a few people who like I don't think they hate me, but they definitely have like a grudge against me. But for me, I'm like, I don't have any hate towards you. Like
Let's combine those two things, right? You can't hate somebody if they love you, and authentic people, everyone loves.
Yeah.
So you love this person. It's just coming out as some sort of hate, right? Authentic people, what does it mean to be authentic, right? It's you're closer to your true self. Your true self tends to love rather than hate.
Yeah.
So like this is just the joy of love or a bottle of love. You can't hate it. You know what I'm saying? Like you're hating on it. Like you're basically in this instance a hater. You know, and that's why I was saying like you may not like them, but you love them.
Yeah. Like I always see it like in YouTube videos. Like let's say for instance some new artist or an artist uploads a music video. There's like a few comments that are like, this is so bad. Da 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 da. It's like, well, why are you here? Why you decided to watch the entire video, or at least partial of the video, and decided to comment that, the time that you took to comment that low key means I kind of love this person, but at this moment I don't like them. So I'm gonna show.
It's because they're jealous.
Yeah, it could be either they're jealous or because they're just like it's similar to like when Rebecca Black made Friday.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
no, that's what I mean. They're jealous that, hey, I could have done this. Why are
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah. Why are you getting?
successful?
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
like when you see someone, for instance, I saw something similar on social media recently.
Mhm.
It was someone famous who did stand up and it was hilariously bad.
Nah,
It
okay,
was not funny at all,
okay.
and bashing this guy, bashing him. And what I took it as is, I mean, I thought it was bad too. I didn't laugh at all, right? But what I took of it is like they're upset that this guy A had the balls to do it, did it poorly, but did it and was successful. And that's something that they weren't able to do. They were not able to get over their fear of doing something bad in front of people. Because the thing people don't realize is that not everyone who does something well becomes successful. People who do things become successful.
That's so true, bro. Because there's been a few times where people weren't feeling me, like on
A
like
few times.
you know what I mean? Yeah, more than a few times, guys. I
Mm,
mean, more than a few times. But there was a lot of moments where people like would verbally say it out loud. Like I've been booed off stage before.
mm.
It's not a good feeling, but it definitely makes you realize, like, I tried. It's fine. Like a lot of great people, whatever it is, I don't care who you are, have definitely had moments where people were like, "Oh, what the hell?" Like, what was it? There was I'm not sure if this is true, but it was circulating on like rap pages on social media. And it was like when Jay-Z first started, he would go to labels and they told him like, "Nigga, your music sucks." They just tell him it sucks, and he's like, "All right, cool." And then comes to find out, Jay-Z is like the biggest mogul in like hip hop industry. But a question I wanted to ask you, since we're talking about, you have to really just like try in order for you to be successful in any kind of department, whether that's your career, whether that's your mentality or whatever it is. Do you feel like you've reached a peak glow up? Have you reached a glow up? Is there a peak glow up? You know, I don't know.
Nah, nah.
You don't
I
think there's
don't.
a peak glow up?
No, I don't. I don't think there's a peak, and I don't think I'll reach it until the day I die. Like, I think that's kind of the same mentality as people who say like, high school is the best years of my life, or
If you peaked in
college
high
were the
school,
best years of my life. I'm like, yo, why did you peak in high school or college? Like, like I
yeah,
feel bad when people say that. You know what I'm saying? Because to me, that's
yeah.
like, yo, like you're 40 years old and you said high school is the best years of your life. So like out of the 40 years, these 4 years, like 20 years ago, were the best of them. Like the way I look at my life, 100% honest. Like the days suck, but sometimes, but the years are awesome. Like when I look back at like this, even just this year, and we've been shut down for half of this year,
This
but
year has
this
been a
has
lot.
still been probably the best year of my life because the way I look at it is like, yo, I'm constantly getting better, and because I define success holistically, even if there is something that I'm lacking, like I just try to focus on fixing that so that I can feel more successful. Like if I'm like, yo, did I reach the peak of my glow up? Is no, like, like I want to be popping when I'm 80. Like I want to be, I want to be when I'm 100 years old. I want to be 4 times better than I am now. Like I'm
Okay.
25 now. I want to be 4 times.
Well, as a better question then, have you reached at least a level of glow up? Because I also agree, but I wanted to ask you the question to see how you would react. Some people are like,
Mm.
yeah, I feel like you peak at this age, or I feel like I'm gonna peak at this age. But to hear your answer be like, there is no peak because you're constantly going up, which is good. My question is then, have you reached a level at least of glowing up?
What what does that even mean? Everyone's at a level, right? Like everyone's at a
At a
point.
level that like, oh, no. When I say a level, I'm not saying because everyone is at a level, yes. When I'm saying glowing up, I mean there's different levels of it, right? I feel like when you get higher and higher and higher, there's more things that you're able to like review back and be like, wow, I went from level one, which is level one where like you kind of get a little gist of something. Maybe it's like your mentality, or like the first time you discipline yourself, right? First time you discipline yourself, like how high in terms of it do you think that like you are?
I just disagree with your general assumption, like the
Really?
general premise. Yeah, I don't think that there's levels. Like I don't look at it like that because that's too like singular of a view. That's to say like right now I'm at the peak of something, right? If I
Hmm.
look at it like in terms of levels, where I don't want to make it like a comparison. That's the thing. Is like if I say I'm on level 10, for instance, then someone else is like, "Oh, I think you're on level 7." And then someone else says, "I think you're on level 2," because it's a matter of perspective, and it's a matter of perspective relative to domain. Like how are you defining what level it is? Like, yeah, I say for instance in if someone's 70 years old, right? They have a bunch of career success. They had a bunch of like relationship success. They, in a happy relationship, marriage. They have beautiful kids, whatever. But they didn't work on their physical aspect. Say, for instance, like how do you define what level that person's at in terms of their career aspect? They probably reached what they would consider the top of like their career, right? Like, or in terms of like specifically in terms of how much money they're gonna make, they probably max that out, right? But there's other aspects in their life that are behind, right? That they need to work on and to like revision themselves. So like when you refocus like your life's purpose, almost, like when people are like retirement or midlife crisis or nowadays quarter life crisis,
Hmm.
all that is people taking the time to like reevaluate what is like, they realize there's some sort of internal
What it is that they
conflict.
want?
Yeah, internal conflict where like they realize their value structure and how they're playing that like their day-to-day life aren't aligning. There's a disconnect between what they value and
What they're
how they
doing?
yeah what they're doing, and like people realize it, but I just don't like the phrasing, I guess you could say, of levels, because then it paints a picture of like you can chart where you are, when what I'm trying to get across is that at different points in your life, different things are going to be important to you.
Yeah.
So like when a guy is 25 years old, for instance, he might be the most important thing to him might be, physical attraction, being in the gym, doing this, that, and the other. When he's 35, maybe he's thinking about, he defines success as like a relationship and having like a kid or something like that. So how does he define like where he is on the scale when what he values is going to completely change? When I value something different at 35, I'll see myself as a beginner. In the same way, to make it a lot easier, I'm talking really abstract. Think about your interests. Think about what you like to do, right? If you like um, to read books, or if you like to paint, say for instance, painting, and you just started it, it's a new hobby, you're probably gonna suck at it. And that's okay. But you'll look at it as like, all right, I'm on level 1 with this. You know what I'm saying? Like this is something I'm gonna work on and build up. And then say it gets up to quote unquote level 7.
I
And then
guess
you
the way I'm trying to say it is that maybe leveling is the wrong word, but maybe what I'm saying is it's not a comparison game. It's more so like a mental thing, or it's like how well developed, I guess you say, not necessarily levels as in like I'm level 49 in this game, but how well developed are you in this position of your life right now? Because like you said, over time, you're obviously going to have different interests. There's going to be things that are more important to you over time. Like when I know when I'm like 45, maybe 50, me thinking about touring music and being like the biggest music artist, whatever it is, isn't gonna be my main concern. Maybe my main concern is gonna be I just want to have a stable like relationship with my wife, my future wife. You know what I'm saying? So I'm guessing in terms of your development as a person, and in terms of, and not necessarily a scale, but do you think that you've done a lot of like great development over your time after you've hit a point of like a realization?
yes, I mean, of course, like personal development is like essential to being for me. So I'm constantly trying to improve myself as a person. That's literally what I set my intention to do every day. Like when I wake up almost every single day. Well, I wake up every day, but almost every day.
I wake up every day, you know?
Well, I said it wrong. But when I wake up, like almost every time, like, I try to set my intentions. And like one of the first ones I say is like, my intention for today is to be a better man than I was yesterday. My intention for today is to do more right than wrong. My intention for today, like I set out my intentions like for every day, but it's always about my intention for today is to be a slightly better person than I was the day before. My intention for today is to forgive a little bit more than like have these little like, all right, I'm going to try in whatever way, just set my intention. And so that like today I can like attempt to become a slightly better person. So like in that way, yes, but I think everyone is. You know what I'm saying? I think everyone is becoming better versions of themselves all the time if they set the intention to.
Yeah.
Like and that's the thing is not even if they set the intention to, all setting the intention to is makes it purposeful and specific. But fundamentally, I think everyone is improving themselves all the time. And that's why it was hard for me to answer your question, because it's like, the dude who's 35 and like he feels like a loser and he's out of shape and he smokes and drinks and this, that, and like the third, he still has aspects of his life that he improved himself in. You know what I'm saying? Like fundamental, like if you make it from, no one like stays the same mindset from when they're 5 years old. It's just about how purposeful your personal development becomes after a certain point in life. When you're a kid, like we were saying earlier, and you're in middle school, like you can either learn from that experience or hold on to it, right? A lot of people hold on to it and they stay in that 13-year-old mindset, whatever, right? But
there's a lot of grown adults that are kids.
Yeah. Like for sure. But if you can like move past it, not even move past it, if you can learn from the experience and like grow upon it, and develop a 14-year-old mindset.
Little by little.
Yeah,
little
you know what I'm saying? Like little by little, like build up to like in different aspects of your life. Some people are 13 years old romantically. Some people are 13 years old financially. Some people, you know what I'm saying? Like in different aspects of life, like different people are in different places. And different people address those or not at different times in their lives and with different intensities. So for me, it's more so about the specificity. Damn, did I say that right?
Specificity.
I think I did.
Is that a word?
I think so. If it isn't, you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I know what you mean.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's about, it's about the purposeful intent behind improving yourself. When you tell yourself, I want to get better at talking to girls, for instance, then you get better at talking to girls. But if you just say, I want to get better or whatever, like you'll get better at everything but talking to girls. You'll make more money. You'll, have a better job.
Go head on to it. You won't.
It's not even going head on. It's about naming it. It's about being purposeful and specific.
Well, yes, but I feel like if you don't have the intention, I can name all day, right? To be like, you know what? Let's say, for instance, my Gatorade. I'm not going to drink Gatorade anymore. But if I don't have like if I don't have the intention or the willingness to actually stop, I'm gonna keep doing it.
Well, what are you naming?
Let's say for instance, I want to stop drinking.
No,
Gatorade.
You're saying words. What are you naming?
What do you mean?
You're naming the intention.
Yes.
So you have the intention.
You're naming the intention, yes, but if you don't have any drive, if you don't have anything to go forward with it, you're not going to do it. So that's what I'm saying. It's like New Year's resolutions, right? You have the intention of saying, I'm going to work out more. I'm going to do this. I want to do whatever it is, right? That's setting the intention. But if you're not actually putting the drive to it, it's not going to be anything but an intention. That's what I'm saying.
Of course. I agree with that. But I also think that it's the issue is that people aren't specific with what they're trying to develop in their life.
Okay, yeah,
like,
I agree.
And that's what I mean. Where it's like they're like, oh, I want to have a girlfriend, for instance, or I want to make $100,000, right? That's not necessarily an intention. That's a goal. An intention is a specific action that you intend to do, right? So like when I wake up and like, yeah, they can be like general intentions. My intentions are almost more like affirmations, right? So that I can use throughout my day-to-day life. I intend to be a slightly better person today. But say for instance, you're like, yo, my intention for today is to walk up to two girls I don't know and talk to them. You know, that's mad specific. You know what I'm saying? It's an actionable thing that you can do. And you're right. Like I can wake up and tell myself like, oh yeah, my intention for today is to walk up to two girls I don't know and talk to them. And that doesn't mean shit unless I actually do it. But
Yeah,
if you wake up every day and say that, if you name it, if you're that specific with it, at a certain point you're gonna develop a level of shame, that
for sure.
personal shame, that if that it's gonna force you, give you that drive, as you would say, like
Okay.
to actually do it.
Yeah.
You
No,
know,
I 100%
which
agree.
is why I think that we should shame people.
Hot take.
A little bit of shame. There's nothing wrong with
I
that.
remember there was what summer was it? Right now we're in 2020. This was last summer, 2019. Um, that entire summer, I remember in terms of a glow up, I would say that would be my biggest to date. Because during that time, it was a very big discipline type of moment where it's like I have this intention, I have these goals, I'm setting them, and I'm gonna do it. And it's like every day you would wake up and you would do it, right? And by the end of the summer, in like 3 months' time, I learned a new skill that I mean, it took a lot of failure. You know what I'm saying? It took a lot of failure for it to happen, but I came out with a new skill. Was there ever a moment, maybe during your college years, after your college years, whatever moment in your life, where like you were grinding so hard on disciplining yourself that became like a big glow up?
I'll say this, right? The To answer your short question, yes, but I still I'm hesitant to go with your phrasing still a little bit, right? Because
Hmm.
I don't want, and this is what I'm not even hesitant. I want to just challenge you
Okay.
actually to rethink almost how you think about your own personal development. Of course, there's periods in my life that I look back on with like rose-colored glasses and be like, yo, during that time of my life, I was so on it. Yo, I was a beast. Like I remember
Hmm.
back, my senior year of college and during this period, and I was working all these jobs and and I was a beast, like in terms of like becoming a better person and whatever. But I also am self-aware enough to know that that's like rosy-colored glasses. You know what I'm saying? So I don't necessarily look back and say like with for anything but for that inspiration to say like, hey, if I was able to grind like that at this point in my life, like why can't I grind like that at this point in my life. And in that way, like that's like I'll look back for something like that. But other than that, like I don't like thinking that part in my life I was better than I was now,
That's not
because
what I'm
that
saying
part
at
of your
all.
life, well, it's what naturally leads to it almost, right? Because it's like if you keep looking back with like, yo, I used to grind so much better at that, or like that point in my life is
Well, that's
is
the comparison that you were saying, right? When you say I used to grind so much better, that's not the question I was asking. I'm saying in your life, right? There is depth from like mashallah, right? And alhamdulillah, you've reached a level of success that's crazy, right? But in order for that to happen, there was a specific moment that you decided, you know what, I'm gonna grind. I'm not saying that you're not grinding as equally as hard. That's not what I'm saying at all.
oh
I'm
the
just
the moment the specific moment.
the specific moment where you decided I'm gonna grind my ass off. That's kind of what I'm asking. I'm not saying like,
What period of my life did I glow up the most? Because
yeah, no, no, no,
that's what I thought you were saying, and
no,
that's why I
no,
was
no, no,
trying
no,
to say
no.
like, yo, don't think about it like that, because
No,
you
that's
should
not what I'm
look at
saying.
right now as the period you're growing up
Yeah,
the most.
100%. That's
Yeah.
not what
Okay.
I'm
Okay.
saying at
Cool.
all.
Cool. Cool. No, we're back on the same page. All right. Cool.
Okay.
You looked at me mad weird too, like when I was like, I don't necessarily agree, and I was like, now I understand. But
Yeah.
all right. So yes,
Good.
uh, not obviously like from when I was a kid, I busted my ass like
Hmm.
from when I was a kid. But I do distinctly remember one time in my life when I was like, I need to make like a serious start making serious changes in my life to get what I want. And it was after working. It was when I went over winter break to Sudan.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, and I worked in Sudan, and I was like, this is the worst. It was the most beautiful opportunity I was ever afforded. In fact, like I learned so much during that like internship.
Hmm.
And one of the biggest things I learned, because I was living and working like everyone else, like at the company. And one of the biggest things that I learned was like working class life is shit.
Very.
It's absolute shit, and it didn't hit me when I was younger, right? Because I had worked my whole life up until that point,
Hmm.
from well before when I was a kid. But when I 16, I was working at Chuck E. Cheese, right? But it didn't really hit me at that time because I'm over here making what was to me a lot of money,
Oh yeah, yeah.
plus like I kind of knew, right? Because I'm 16 and my manager's like 25, and he's telling me he makes 25 cents an hour more than me. And I'm just like, what? Like, but I don't think about it too much. I don't really
Hmm.
know what that means, but I'm like, wait, but it doesn't really hit me. But when I did that internship, I remember I was just like, wait, so you guys just like every day go to work and then just come back home and then go to work and then just come
That's
back
it.
home, and on your day off you're just resting from working? Like you're not even doing anything else
Watching
like that you
TV.
love? Yeah, like you're just resting to go back to work. And at that moment, I came back from the internship. I remember I was just like, I never want my life to be like that. And when I say working class, like this is white collar. Like yeah, I was out on the farm for a bit too, doing like blue collar work, but I was up there with the top guys. Like, I was talking to people who were directors at the company, everything, like white collar work, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I was just like, this is the most pitiful existence I could imagine for myself. I just wanted so much more out of life. And I just saw what the road was laid out for me. I was like, there's no way in hell I'm going to do this. So when I came back, um, I got to work, man. And like when I came back, I read Think and Grow Rich. It was one of the first books I read when I came back, and it clicked for me. It clicked. And I understood it at that point that anything I wanted to do, I could if I just believed it and put in the work.
That's
You
powerful.
like something that I say a lot is that there's people who work hard and there's people who have faith, but the people who have both are the winners.
Yeah, I remember that you told me that before. Yeah,
What about you?
that's a very interesting moment. I think for me, um, there is definitely a shift. Right before, like, pretty much when I purchased my studio and I had everything for my studio, that was the moment where I was like, wow. So my sophomore year of college, I decided to pick up two part-time jobs. So pretty much that's like a full-time job, um, while being a full-time student. But the main reason why is because I knew I was like, I'm gonna need to bust my ass if I want a studio. Because at the time, there was no studio for me to like consistently go to with the finances that I had. The only studio that I could go to was like it was like 3 hours for $100, right? And so I'm adding it up. I'm like, yo, in one session you maybe will get two songs, maybe. That's if you're like quick with it, but most times it's usually one song that you'll get finished in those 3 hours. And so you start thinking, it's like, well, that doesn't really make any sense. If I can buy a 1200 slash that's what not slash but 1200 to $1,500 studio, and I can use that anytime I want and I don't have to go anywhere. So there was a clicking kind of moment where I was like, all right, I'm not gonna keep complaining about it. If I really want it, I'm gonna do it. And so I busted my ass. It was like every single day I worked, whether that's the night shift, whether that was the morning shift. There's definitely shifts where I missed on one of the jobs,
Mm.
but I made them up or whatever. And when I got my studio, that was also another click as well, because that's when I realized, oh, because I didn't think engineering was hard until I started engineering. And I was like, oh, geez, this is kind of hard. I wasn't expecting this. So during the summer of 2019, I like went crazy because I had in my mind the intention. I was like, I want to become one of like the best music artists in my opinion. And that changed over time because I realized to want to be the greatest or whatever it is, all it is a comparison game. I just want to be the best that I can be, right? And when I learned engineering and I was applying these things every single day and I was recording every day, even though I made like 15 songs and none of them will ever become public because of how bad they were, right? But I had to go through that in order to evolve in the music artist I am now, right? It's like the 10,000 hour rule, right? When you do the 10,000 hours, that's kind of when you learn how to master your craft. I don't think I hit the 10,000 hours, but I'm slowly getting there. Like I'm pretty close because I decided to apply the faith and the work of being like, you know what? Yeah, I need a job for income, but I want to make sure that when I'm 25, when I'm 26, I don't have to worry about any of that. I can follow true to what I want to believe.
Yeah. I mean, bro, I remember like right after like I came back, like it was just this feeling I had like I just never wanted that to be my life.
Yeah.
And it was like it finally like it's not like finally things started clicking for me, but to give it context, like I was grew up in the family business. I wasn't trying to work in the family business, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I wanted to be in business, like do something. And like I'm in school, like they're grooming me to go into what is it called? What is that thing? Oh, investment banking. Like, most of the kids in my university, like they go into like investment banking,
Oh, okay.
consulting, like,
Accounting. All,
yeah,
I
like
hate those.
yeah, exactly.
Jesus,
I mean,
I hate them.
that was me. Thank you. But that was like my group of people, and I came back. I switched majors. I dropped out of my major, top rated program in the country for like undergraduate business. I dropped out and I switched into that semester, like that from that, whatever. Switched, and this is my sophomore year also.
Oh yeah.
And I switched into like an independent study, like interdisciplinary studies program. And then it was like from there, like things just started going. And I mean, different things like come out of nowhere to lead you to where you are today, right? That you don't see coming. But like, I feel like that moment, if you talk about when did I decide to like really kind of take ownership of my life, it was after I read that book, after I had that experience. Like I read that book immediately when I came back.
That was like one of your first things that you did.
Yeah, because I was there, and I came back in like mid-January, and I had these New Year's resolutions, and my first one of my New Year's resolutions was to read a book every month. It was January 15th, and I hadn't read anything, and I was like, crap, And then it was, and guess what I did all of January?
Read that book.
Nope, didn't read it.
Oh,
it came to February 1st, and that's when I was like, yo, I need to read this book, because I told myself that I was going to read a book a month. I'm already a book behind. Like I had this idea that if you read 10 pages a day, you can read a book a month. Like, and I'm 300 pages behind. Like, like the whole idea was if you do a little bit small things every day, like it adds up, like, so I was like, crap, like, let me sit down and actually read it. And I remember I'd wake up at like 2:00 in the morning, almost every day, just to read this book. And I'd read it and I'd read it. Like, and I finished it sometime in February, and I was just like, wow, like I get it, basically, like if you think it, you can be it. And from that moment on, like I had been doing it my whole life, right? That's how I had gotten to the position I was in at the time. But now I knew exactly how to like achieve anything.
That's actually a great segue for our next episode. I think the topic for our next episode should be spirituality and law of attraction, and also law of detachment. That's like a sub like thing of law of attraction that a lot of people don't talk about. That's very necessary for you to succeed. But yeah, I think this was a good conversation, because not only did we come in both having like-minded things, and then for a minute we're like opposing, which is okay, which is completely okay, because like in order to have a conversation that's fruitful, it shouldn't be, yeah, I agree. Yeah, I agree. Hell no, I would hate that. I would hate talking to myself, So it's good to have those two perspectives and then come right back aligning to understand how we kind of ending it off. So it's great. What I always thought and I always knew is like our lives in terms of like the time frame and everything, it's so weird. There's always moments where something big will happen in each age. Like sophomore year for you, that's when you started to have that mental change. Sophomore year for me had a mental change. freshman year of college. Freshman year of college wasn't necessarily the best. We were just slacking, like, oh, whatever, da 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 da. And then, like, the more and more that I progress in college, the more I see, like, oh, Luffy used to do this thing as well. And it makes you feel like, or understand as well as, like, well, we're not that different, which goes in around with other people. It's like, we're not all that different. We
Mm.
all are trying to figure it out.
Yeah, which is literally why we started the podcast,
Yeah.
right? It's like because our experiences are relatable. Like as
Hmm.
different as they are, we found a string of commonality between them. And if we found it between us, how different we are, then
Yeah.
then I think it exists between all people. Like you
100%.
said earlier with Avatar, we all are connect. We all connect.
We're
Golly,
all
that
connected.
that is a that
It's
is
a
a
tongue
tongue twister.
twister.
We are all connected.
Yeah, we are all connected. Yeah.
I was trying to say like we're all we are.
And then the elements and everything like that. One thing that Iro said before, like we finish everything off, Zuko was trying to figure out how to defeat Azula, his sister. And he was like, I need to learn advanced firebending techniques that are done. Iroh's like, I'm gonna teach you how to like lightning bend, pretty much, right? And then he also taught him how to redirect lightning bend. Beforehand, he was like, he drew. I don't know how he drew it so perfectly. It was crazy. He was like Earth. It's like a stone, like they're in place, and they kind of have one way of thinking. It's you do it. Water is more so adapting. Air is freedom. Fire is the element of light, whatever it is, right? And then Zuko was like, well, why are you telling me all this? And then Iroh was like, in order for you to have advanced firebending techniques, you need to draw wisdom from different places, even places that you do not agree with. You're like, what the hell are you
Mm,
talking about? But it's good because that is how your life will become fluent instead of rigid.
mm. I like that.
Bro, Avatar has so many gems, bro.
Yeah, I see you're on the Avatar wave now.
I've
But
always been on the wave, but it came out on Netflix, so I decided to get back on it.
yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's it. Do you have any last like moments or anything you want to say?
No, just choose love.
So
Choose
whack.
love.
So whack.
Work on yourself. What do you want me to say? Come on, man. I mean,
Live, love, laugh, whatever that stupid thing is.
hey, it's not stupid. They look kind of nice, but
You're weird.
yo, I'm with the corn, man. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's it. I think everything I need to say has been said.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this has been Ahmed,
And Luffy.
and this is the Brotherly Love Podcast. Thank you guys so much for listening. Bye.